Abecedarian.
Articulate.
Blossoming.
Brilliant.
Crustacean.
Cinematic.
Delphic.
Dastardly.
Euphemistic.
Endocrinology.
French.
We should probably do the podcast.
Yeah, should we get to it?
They're here.
They're
Honey,
here.
honey, the
People are
kids are
watching.
here. Shall we? What's up?
Hello.
I'm Kira.
I'm Max.
And this is In Case It Helps, the show where we have a little chat, share a little fact, and dole out some advice to your questions in case it helps.
It's true.
Let's do this thing. Oh, wait. Hold on. Very important before we start filming. I made myself hot cocoa.
Is this a painted mug or a heat-sensitive mug?
It's a heat-sensitive mug.
Whoa.
Yeah, it like turns blue, I think. Oh, no, it might just be the glaze. It's just glaze.
Is it just glaze? Oh, I was going to say, that's very cool.
Is this ASMR? Did we like that or did we hate that? I'm sure probably a little bit of both.
It may be one of the more divisive modern...
My dad is shaking his head like that.
We
was
didn't
really
like
good.
it. Oh, it was
Yeah.
good.
Well, I've got it in the headphones, so it was good.
I really like when it gets this skin on the top.
You
Max.
like the skin?
I know, you think it's gross.
That's
I
criminal.
like the skin.
No.
Also, Max, pudding skins are a product that they made available that you could buy, that you could eat
That
like
is
a
a
roll-up.
brilliant way to get people to out themselves as people who should be in jail. If you like pudding skins, I'm putting you on a registry. I'm beginning a registry of pudding skin likers so that when I'm emperor, I'm going to
brutal.
put them in the cells.
Fun fact about Max, he had never had American pudding until he got his wisdom teeth out.
It's true, and it's the only thing I could
And
eat.
it was all he ate for
It was
a week.
very funny. It
and
was
he
a very
loved
good
it.
bit. Yeah. Kirasaurus.
Maximilian.
What was the best thing you watched this week?
Long story short.
Oh, yeah.
By Raphael Bob Waksberg. It is so wonderful. It's an animated series, but it has such a heart. It's written like a live action show.
Yeah, well, for people who don't know, Raphael Bob Waksberg is the creator of BoJack.
BoJack Horseman, which
obviously
also has
is full of humanity.
that, but it's much sort of warmer and sweeter than some of his work. Like there are some strings of sadness and themes of loss and family and whatever, but like it's just like a deeply warm show that makes me laugh and makes me cry. And it's written really interestingly because it tells the story of this family throughout their lives non-chronologically. It jumps around and it sort of fills in parts of their backstory after showing you different versions of their personalities throughout their life. Like it's just really incredibly written and really funny. And I just breezed through the whole first season. Like, again, I don't mean to sound like a hater, but I think sometimes adult animation, it's hard to infuse that depth into. And this show just has so much depth that like I truly think you could make it tomorrow as a live action show and it would still be good. But you would lose something because there's also so many ways that they take advantage of the form.
The animator is Thingy, right? From Tucker and Birdie.
Lisa Hannawalt?
Lisa Hannawalt.
Probably.
Yeah.
They
I
do a
think
lot of
it's
stuff
certainly of that
together. Yeah,
style,
Lisa Hannawalt was one of the animators of BoJack Horseman, and then she went and did a show called Tuca and Birdie, which is the same animation style, the sort of half human, half animal world.
Yeah.
It had a very feminine touch. Tuca and Birdie that I really loved.
Yeah, it's a
It
beautiful
was
show.
my comfort show in like early COVID. It just was like home to me and I was devastated when it was canceled. Like I really held out hope it was going to get picked up elsewhere. It was like one of the first shows that I ever really, really loved that just got canceled and I was like, they can't do
they can do that? That's
What do you,
legal?
what do you mean? Like, no, we all
Yeah.
want more. How dare you?
What's the one that everyone on the internet's mad about?
Firefly?
Firefly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's like the all-time.
Tuca and Birdie was my Firefly.
Tucker and Birdie was your Firefly.
I'm distracted by how
By
yummy
your
this
cocoa?
cocoa is. It's
Worst
so
things
good.
to be distracted by.
What was the best thing you watched this week?
I watched the first episode of a YouTube series by a short form creator who I like. It's called Fredemology. And it's Frederick Atkinson, I think is his name. And he's a lovely, well-spoken British man.
I know those.
And he's taking us through English literature. And this first episode was about the Middle Ages. So I'm learning about Gildas and Bede all the way up through Beowulf.
Awesome.
And he's a brilliant reader and he's incredibly good at parsing history and keeping it entertaining. And I hated history in school. I liked ancient history, hence the Rome thing. But like as soon as it got to the Middle Ages, I was outie. And it's so lovely to kind of reclaim it by this wonderful, wonderful teacher.
I would love to watch. He sounds a lot like you. He also has your almost name.
Yeah, I was going to be a Freddy.
Cool. I can't wait to watch that with you.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Best word you learned this week?
My word of the week is peripatetic.
Ah, yes.
Yes, transient, nomadic, but it comes from Aristotle used to teach his students while walking up and down the walkway, or peripatos. And that was how the word became popularized, his peripatetic teaching, and now it just means nomadic, transient, of a lifestyle or a person. Also, I just like it. I think it's yummy to say peripatetic. I love words that have consonants like that. That's why I like ubiquitous and apocryphal. We're really getting into ASMR this
We are.
episode. Do we need to do an ASMR episode?
Please, no, I hate it.
Okay.
I can't. The nails on the thing, like,
Have
God,
you got
my idea of hell.
a spot of misophonia, perhaps?
Perhaps. I think it's actually, specifically with the nails thing, it's plasticophonia.
Yeah, Max
Whatever the thing is, like,
Max is
it makes me
one.
really uncomfortable.
It's funny, Max is kind of unflappable, unfazable when it comes to like sensory stuff. He's very zen. Like he can deal with pretty much any annoying sound or smell or whatever. The one thing he cannot handle is the sound of styrofoam.
Oh, God, no, it's the worst thing in
Or
the world. I hate it.
polystyrene.
Polystyrene from my Brits.
So whenever
It's,
something comes in polystyrene, I say, go over there, close your ears, and I open it up.
I'm trying to immersion therapy my way through it, but like when we first met, I literally had to leave the room.
Yeah,
if we had a
styrofoam and
delivery.
snakes. His only weaknesses.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they're both inherited from your mom, though. I don't think they're
Well, I
two
don't know if
fears.
she has a styrofoam thing. She obviously has a snake thing
She's
that
got
I've
a
inherited,
snake thing,
which I'm
yeah.
going to try and work against.
You've
but,
gotten much better with it.
I have got a lot better. Slowly immersing
I'm telling you,
myself
nothing.
into...
He can walk through a Halloween Horror Nights maze. Nothing. Scary movie. Nothing. But like an image of a snake on Instagram, and he's like, nope.
Hide it. I'm gone.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Can I give you a peripatetic fact?
Please.
Peripatetic fact from producer Danny.
Incoming.
When your mother and I met, we were doing a chorus line in Europe, and there is a lyric that says she walks into a room and you know she's uncommonly rare, very unique, peripatetic, poetic, and chic.
Nice.
Nice. Very good.
Great lyric. Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, producer Danny.
I know peripatetic as a word to describe like substitute teachers who come in for a semester. We call them peripatetic teachers in the UK.
Very cool. British people watching this, when I said peripatetic as the word of the week, did you already know it then by way of that usage? Because that's I don't know.
Well,
I don't
know
think it's
that.
usage we have.
I didn't actually know it meant that. I just associated it with the thing. So
Right.
in my head, it was peripatetic describes a teacher coming in for a little bit,
Right.
and now I know it actually doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
It's an adjective.
Transient.
Super cool.
What is your word of the week?
Hermeneutical.
Whoa.
It's a little tricky to describe, and I still haven't fully interpreted the depth and complexity of its meaning.
Well, let's do it together.
But the way that I would describe it to you is the ideas version of semantic. Semantic is the analysis of words, right? Specific meaning of a word. Hermeneutics is the philosophy of interpretation. For example, we disagree on the meaning of the word marriage would be a semantic issue. We disagree on the institution of marriage and what it means is a hermeneutical issue. And I think this is really fascinating,
Luckily,
right? Because
we don't.
Luckily, we don't. But I think it's really interesting because every time you look at a meme and you do interpretation, every time you read an article or look at a piece of art and you try to analyze it within context, you are doing hermeneutics.
Would you say that a lot of the sources of conflict in Vanderpump Rules are due to hermeneutical disagreements?
Hermeneutical disagreements
where
and valence.
Stassi is like, you just don't do that to a friend. And Katie is like, but you do if you're in this situation because
Yeah.
that's what friendship is. And they just have like different understandings of like what
Absolutely.
a friend should do in this
For sure.
space.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think this is a super useful word to have, especially for people like us who like to break everything down and analyze things.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad I have it in my vocabulary, and I'm intrigued to go and read some of the theses. Feels wrong.
What's
Thesi.
the etymology?
So there's a cool folk etymology, which is that it comes from Hermes, the Greek god, who was like the messenger god who transferred the god's messages to messages that humans could understand. And so hermeneutical translation of ideas that you can't have to ideas that you can have.
Sure. Your watch is flipped if you want
Oh,
to.
thank you, yeah.
Yeah. By the way,
go.
Max has just inherited
Bunch of cool watches.
some watches from my
If
dad.
you go back into the last few episodes, I've worn a different one each.
My dad has a little antique watch collection, and he started handing them down to Max.
They're beautiful. I
And
love
we've been
them.
learning a lot about wristwatches. And then my dad gave Max a book about American wristwatches
Yeah,
from the 40s and
Midcentury.
50s. And we've been learning. And some of these watches he's been wearing are from like the 40s, and they still work. And like the
one I
mechanical.
wore last episode was 1937.
That's crazy. The
It's
mechanical
crazy.
timepieces are just
It's
still
incredible.
going.
Yeah,
like-
it's bringing us so much joy to research them.
Anyway,
Best fact you learnt this week?
the Statue of Liberty is stepping over broken chains.
Huh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's.
You just can't see them because
You
of the
just can't
angle?
see them because the angle, yeah. It's supposed to be in honor of abolition. You know, it was designed by a French abolitionist. Originally, the design was going to have her holding the chains, and American benefactors were like, no, no, no. So they changed it to symbolize moving past slavery,
That's sick.
which is beautiful. Unfortunately, not exactly how it happened. It still took quite a while before there was
Right.
any form of liberation, and we're still
Still
fighting
working
for
towards that,
equality
right, yes.
now. But yeah, the Statue of Liberty. Who knew?
Did you know that a decade before the Statue of Liberty was given
Yeah.
to America, it was pitched to Egypt?
Ah,
Bertoldi pitched it to stand at the edge of the Suez Canal. which they had been constructing, and it was originally going to be called something like Egypt Carrying the Light to Asia or something like that, something akin to that. I'll put the actual title here.
Did Egypt turn it down and America was the next best thing?
They absolutely wanted it, but they couldn't afford it because the construction cost of the Suez Canal skyrocketed.
My other Statue of Liberty fact is we all kind of know this, but you don't really think about it. Like, she's not originally green. She was intended to be green, but that green is patina. It's rust on like a rosy copper.
Yes.
The statue originally was like pink, basically.
Crazy.
Who knew?
A trio of facts about the Statue of Liberty.
There's a fourth.
A fourth?
The cost is the base. So the statue was a gift, but the base was provided by the recipient. And that's where all the expense.
That's where the expense is. Fascinating.
Oh, interesting.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's my fact.
Cool.
What is your fun fact?
I learned this week about the origins of the webcam.
Oh.
You're a researcher at Cambridge in 1991.
I am indeed.
And you're doing some science, but your lab is positioned kind of an annoyingly long distance from the coffee room. Mm-hmm. And so you keep making treks to the coffee room only to find that the pot's not ready. And so you're wasting a lot of time going back and forth. And so you install a little camera in the coffee room that looks at the coffee pot and it refreshes 3 times a minute to the break room. And this was the world's first webcam. They were just wanting to see if the coffee was ready. And it's a massively consequential part of the story of webcam development.
That's awesome.
Just because they wanted the coffee to be ready.
What makes it a webcam and not just a CCTV? Because there must have been security cameras
streamed
already.
over the web. Security cameras are by cable. Right?
Oh, of course, of course.
I
That's
assume.
cool.
I'm not 100% certain of that, but I think that's the answer.
That's
what I learned
very,
this week,
very cool.
Which is fun.
Their peripatetic time wasting necessitated a webcam.
An amelioration of their problems.
To ameliorate their problems by obviating the need to walk back and forth. If you've been watching this whole pod, you know all of these words.
Very good.
Look at that. Callback, city, population,
Absolutely.
us.
Next question. What was the best thing you ate this week?
Roasties.
Roasties, what I made.
Roasties nuts. Sorry,
Nice.
Max. Sorry. That is...
We contain multitudes. We can talk about the Statue of Liberty. We can make a D's nuts joke.
Yeah, Max's dad every Christmas makes these beautiful roasted potatoes. They're iconic. And so Max tried his hand at them. And they were great.
It's not the same, but
No.
like pretty
Doesn't-
freaking good.
It doesn't have the war and love.
Nor
but...
does it have Maris Pipers, which are the ultimate floury potato.
Oh,
but they're
right.
not a breed you guys have here.
Right.
So I went with rusted. So
But
it's
they
pretty
were
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
Absolutely. A lot of it's in the technique.
Don't sweat the technique. Do sweat the technique. I've never understood don't sweat the technique. You should sweat the technique, right? Isn't that what you want?
I think that
Is don't sweat the technique like don't be afraid to like break boundaries and like do it differently? Or is don't sweat the technique like I've got the technique on lock, you don't have to worry? It's a basketball thing, right?
Is it? I've
Dad,
actually never heard this before.
Will you look up don't sweat the technique? I feel like it's something that a famous basketball player said and I'm going to get flamed in the comments for not knowing. Also, like I feel like I can hear it in like a song. I can hear someone being like don't sweat the technique, like a lyric.
It is a song.
It is a
Don't
song.
Sweat the Technique by Eric B. and Rakim.
Okay.
1992.
And I associate it with basketball because that song was in 2K3, which I grew up playing. That was my 2K that I grew up playing, was NBA 2K3, which is insane.
That's a long time ago.
The largely accepted meaning of the song is that he saw his popularity rise. Other MCs were copying his technique, his style, and this was a warning to them.
So don't sweat was like, don't copy?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's so funny that my brain associated it with basketball because I heard the song in 2K as a 7-year-old, and my brain just like filed it in that folder.
I can't remember what the song is, but there's a song that every time I hear it, I'm back playing a like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 or whatever from 2004.
Oh, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Remember that era where every video game was skateboarding and even the games that weren't decided to make skins for skateboarding?
Yeah.
Like it was like a Mickey Mouse character skateboard game. I just remember being Goofy grinding like on rails in a city.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of cities have built anti-skateboard architecture. Like they've put brackets on, surfaces that could be grinded on.
Yeah.
Ground
Well, that's
on
not only
to set them.
anti-skateboard architecture.
Well, yes,
it is...
a lot of it is also anti-homeless architecture, unfortunately, which is when cities spend money to build slight inconveniences to unhoused people so that they can't post up in that area.
You ever seen a bench with an arm in the middle between the two sides of the bench? It's not so that you have an armrest, it's so that people can't lie on the bench.
Which is very upsetting because what if instead you spent that money on housing or mental health treatment or harm reduction centers or literally anything else that could help people who are living on the street? They don't want to be on the street either. They don't want to sleep on that bench.
It's a bandage and not a very good one.
What if we spent that money to actually help those people who could then have housing and then maybe they could get a job and participate in society and not need help anymore? It could all be so easy. It's not easy to solve the homelessness crisis, but there are much better things that I think
it's easier than it's being made.
we could be doing than what we're doing. And but here we are.
While we're
Messed
talking
up.
about urban design, you want to tell the people about trees?
Oh yeah, the fact I learned about trees, producer Danny, fact check this while I give it to the people. Thank you. Is that more often than not, community designers tend to plant male trees instead of female trees because female trees produce fruit, and fruit is messy and falls on the ground and makes a mess on the sidewalk. So male trees are easier. However, male trees put off a lot more pollen, and thus seasonal allergies do actually get worse year after year because there are more and more male trees on the streets.
Implanted.
Yes, it is a recognized phenomenon
It's
that
true.
urban planners and community designers have historically favored planting male trees to avoid the mess of fruit, seeds, and pods on sidewalk, which in turn leads to much higher pollen levels and
Yeah.
worse seasonal allergies.
Somebody-
It's called botanical sexism.
I was just going to say,
Botanical
I saw this
sexism.
called
Fascinating.
botanical sexism, which it feels a little bit like a stretch because botanical sexism feels like they're just like, well, we want to plant male trees because they're cooler. Like, I do understand why you would not want to
Right.
plant the trees that leave stuff on the ground. It's not just because they're quote unquote female trees, but it is the reality that they have chosen to plant more male trees and thus we all suffer more.
Not to recontextualize this, but if you plant female trees, you got a community garden. Everyone goes and gets free fruit.
Yeah, that is the other thing, is that if you plant trees that have food, people can
Right.
then eat the food.
That's how you get beautiful cities like Seville, where everyone goes around picking the oranges and it's part of a culture and a celebration.
Yeah.
But anyway,
How good the world could be.
in case it helps podcast for mayor. We got here from roast potatoes.
Yeah, we went from roast potatoes to don't sweat the technique to basketball to Tony Hawk to skateboard architecture to anti-homeless architecture to trees.
Follow your curiosity.
Dad, you'll appreciate this story. I was thinking the other day about this time when we lived in Florida and my parents were having an adult party in the backyard. That sounds not an adult
Yes,
party.
an adult
My
party.
parents were having a party in the backyard with all the grown-ups and I was like one of the few, if only, youngins there. I was probably like 9. And it was just one of those conversations that, you know, adults have over a few glasses of wine, ping-ponging from topic to topic and laughing. And I remember stopping the conversation being like, wait, how did we get here from here? And Dad, you said something along the lines of like, honey, like it's a conversation. Don't worry about it. Just like let it flow.
Don't
And I
sweat the technique.
And yeah, but I just remember being like so enamored by like the art of conversation that adults had, even at that age. And now I have conversations with my friends where we do that and we ping pong from subject to subject. And there's still that little 9-year-old inside of me. It's just that now I get to be the adult having the nice conversation.
You
That's
said
sweet.
the phrase, let's have a conversation, so many times.
As a kid?
You would sit down with adults and say,
Let's have a conversation. It's still my favorite thing
you
to
just
do.
wanted to do it.
Fascinated by the idea
And
of
now
a
I have a
conversation.
podcast.
And now you have
No
a
one can
podcast.
stop you.
I do. I love talking with people.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Talking's my favorite.
It's a beautiful
Talking
art
to the
form.
right people, it's the best thing in the world. All right. What's the best thing you ate this week?
We got a PR gift. Killer brownies. This is the most exquisite, absurdly jam-packed with chewy, fudgy goodness brownie you can possibly imagine. It was an omnifarium of delights.
Whoa.
Omnifarium. Actually, I don't know that that's a word, actually. Omnifarious is a word, meaning multiplicity. I think I just nounified it.
I love
but
that. I
it's
think
a word
you
now.
should
There you
totally
are.
be able to. One of my hottest takes is that I think you should always be able to like nounify or adjectivify or verbify a
For
word
sure.
by using the existing conjugation rules of your own language.
Yes,
like I think
for sure.
that's totally
Yes,
valid.
absolutely.
I love omnifarium.
If Shakespeare can do it, so can I.
Is it so? Omni is all.
Omni is all, farium, parts. All parts,
all
all
parts.
things. Yeah. Killer brownies, omnifarium of delights.
Thank you
That should be your new
for
logo.
our brownies.
Final question of our
Yes.
hors d'oeuvres this week. Your $1 million idea of the week, if you please.
You know how trains have the quiet car? Quiet plane. Specific airlines
Yeah.
or specific flight routes offered by airlines for quiet and darkness. Like specifically the flight that you book because you need to sleep. Especially if it's like weird hours where because of your jet lag and where you're traveling, the only way you'll survive the week is if you sleep on this flight that's from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time.
Right.
So they're going to have the windows open and the lights on and people are going to be
Right.
chatting. But if you don't sleep on that flight, you're screwed for the next week or
Yeah.
whatever. And the other part of that is, you know, when you're on a flight that's like 9 or 10 hours long, and in your mind, you're like, great, I'll be able to get a good night's sleep. But then you remember the first like hour and a half is pre-service, and then they do dinner. By the time they've cleaned up service, like 3 hours have gone by, and then they wake you up like 2 or 3 hours before landing to serve the next meal. So really on a 9 or 10 hour flight, you can only get like
5 hours.
5 hours. And that's best case scenario if you have like a mask and earplugs and, you know, maybe drugs. So yeah, I don't know. I think the quiet airline or the quiet flight
I think that's a
version of
brilliant
that,
idea.
they don't serve the meals. It's just they know that if you book that flight, it's because you want to sleep, and they try to make the environment as conducive to sleep as possible.
Yeah.
And it's the sleep flight.
Yeah.
What's your $1 million idea?
My $1 million idea this week is the Isle Guard 9000.
Okay.
I'm a beast in the grocery store.
Yeah,
I know
it's true.
where everything is. I know the pathway to get from A to B. I'm so freaking quick until someone leaves their cart in the middle of the aisle. This is a huge issue and a huge dent in my quality of life, and it annoys me deeply. And so I will tirade about it. I think that grocery stores should have a little thing in their cart that is called the Aisle Guard 9000. And when you leave your cart in a bad place, which it knows because it's got 3D mapping of the store, it beeps once politely and it says, "You've left me in a bad place." And you go, "Oh, sorry, move it." And if you don't, then your image is displayed upon the Jumbotrons, which I will install in every grocery store, and everyone will stop and ritualistically chant shame, shame, shame until you fix
I
it.
do just want to acknowledge, I like that 2 of your $1 Million Ideas on this first season of this show have been grocery store related.
It's where I spend a lot of time.
Yeah, you do. And
Specifically, I try to.
And I'm grateful for that.
I like being able to go in every day and choose
Very
and
European
pick
of
what
you.
I want.
Pop to the
Yeah,
market.
it feels like going to market. It feels
Yeah.
like I'm more present in my cooking. It helps me minimize food waste.
And it's nice to have it like part of the ritual of making a meal be like, go to the store, get the
Yeah.
ingredients, come home. Unfortunately, when we're in Vancouver, we live walking distance from a shop, and the walk is beautiful because it's shady, tree-lined
Because it's
streets and
Vancouver,
people
right.
and nature, and the air is crisp. And so when I don't have an ingredient or something, I just go, oh, I'll pop to the shop. Here, and you get in the car and you gotta find parking, and like I'm less enamored by the act of grocery shopping here. So I'm
There is
grateful that you
something
tend to do it.
specifically enamoring about it. Have you ever seen a grocery parking lot sunset?
Yeah.
It's biblical.
They're the
I
best
don't know
things
what
ever.
happens in the world, but like something about a sunset over a huge parking lot
Yeah,
is...
because there's usually no like visual. A Costco parking lot
Yeah,
sunset.
just the huge ones that go on forever.
Yeah.
This is unmatched.
Grocery store sunset was the phrase that made me start keeping a list a few years ago of things that
Random
we say that
phrases.
would be great band names.
Yeah, grocery store sunset.
Grocery store sunset is a great
Yeah.
band name. Are you
Beef
kidding?
needle, I remember we talked
Beef
about.
needle was something that came out of a conversation with our friend who had
About
a
allergies,
a
yeah.
red meat allergy. Yeah, beef needle. I could actually, you know
Thrice
what?
to Cairo, I think
Thrice
is one
to
of my favorite
Cairo.
ones.
Hold on, you know what? I'm gonna do it.
You're going to rapid fire list.
I'm gonna
Let's just
read
say the
you-
phrases and see if you guys can figure out the context.
I guarantee you can't. I'm gonna read you some of my band name ideas. Communal lo mein, critical schmutz, vision limited, which I got from a
That's
sign,
great.
which is so cool. Tenuous segue, I love. Blanche the basil, because
Blanche the
you
basil.
said it. Blanche the basil.
Launch the basil.
Geometric daikon, come on.
Yeah.
Personal wonk, and then the collab album is communal wonk.
Very good.
Emotionography is actually an incredible
Emotionography.
album name.
That sounds like an Erykah Badu album from like 2003 or
Yeah.
something.
I'm gonna end on deep waffle.
Great.
Ooh, Release the Raccoons is pretty great too.
There's got to be an end at some point.
All right, Byzantine worm. Bye.
Byzantine worm, bye. Should we dive into some real questions?
Let's.
Our first question today is from Curtis. Curtis writes, you both, though particularly Kira, have mentioned the benefits of getting off your phones. I want to do the same, but how? Well, therein lies the rub.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you want to take on this journey. I think that it is a great thing in our modern day to reevaluate our relationships with our phones and make sure that we are using them and they are not using us. So I think the first thing is find activities in your life that literally require you to not be on your phone for a few hours. Like for me, that started a couple years ago with taking pottery classes because literally
You
my
can't
hands
use
were
your phone.
covered in mud. And like to wash my hands and clean up to get my phone was just such an annoyance that I just would not check my phone for a few hours. And that would sort of break the connection. Same with figure skating, just like anything that you have to focus and you can't be using your phone. Eventually that can transition into things where your phone is there, you just don't feel the need to check it, like painting or whatever. But when you're like pretty hooked, it's a little hard to read a book, right? Like first off, that's not the first thing I would recommend. I would start with something that like gets you off your phone. Rock climbing, figure skating, and pottery were the ones that worked well for me. The second bit is transitions, right? Because once you get home from that thing, you haven't been on your phone for a few hours. I'd sometimes go, I haven't been on my phone for 4 hours. I'm going to reward myself by picking up my phone. That's alcoholic logic. That's addict logic. That does not work. But transitions are really hard. Getting in the car after the activity, getting home, the first thing that you usually do is pick up your phone. So finding ways to work through those transitions. For me, one of the ways that I've been doing that is when I get home, the first thing I do before I pick up my technology is I put a record on the record player and I put on some music. And that just helps like kind of thrust me into the next phase. And then the last thing is finding analog versions of the tools. that you
Analogue
use
Life
your
Kit,
phone.
right.
Yeah, that you use your phone for. So maybe that's an alarm clock. Maybe that's starting to use like a notepad, a journal to write things down. I do still like to keep my schedule and all of my notes broadly in my phone because it's good for me to stay organized. But I carry a notebook throughout the day. So when I need to jot things down, I put them in the notebook. And then once a day at the end of the night, I put them all into my phone. Or even like we've started using a paper grocery list, just things like that. The other place that I feel like phones creep into our lives that we don't want them to is either in social environments with our friends or in the in-between moments. This sort of speaks to what I was saying about transitions. But, you know, when you're waiting in the line and there's like 50 seconds to kill before you're up at the till to check out, or when you're waiting for the elevator and there's like just enough time that you could kind of open your email, open Instagram, swipe away, reopen Instagram, close it. And in those moments, I've been trying to say something to myself that I saw someone say, and it changed my brain, which is reality is enough. Reality is enough for me. I don't need to escape the real world that I live in. Reality is enough. I can just stand here and be bored. I can stand here and look for a sign to read or a license plate, or I can eavesdrop to a conversation, or I can look at people's outfits. Like, reality is enough. And also, I played Cyberpunk recently, which is this really cool world that you can like walk around. And I had just seen a video making a case for walking instead of running in video games and like looking around and taking it in. And I started doing that in Cyberpunk, where I would just walk around and take things in. And then I was like, wow, so I can just be bored in a video game world and not in real life?
Yeah.
That sucks. So I try to now think of myself as like, if you'd put me in this world in a digital scape,
Right.
I would be walking around looking at stuff. So yeah, reality is enough. Those are my
I
top
love
tips.
those. I
Max,
think those
anything
are
to
great.
add?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think broadly those are super great places to start. I think just a quick note on treating it like an addiction, which is that sometimes we talk about digital detox in terms of like moral purity or asceticism, like it's a character flaw if you can't do it. And I think that's ultimately a little unhelpful, because the truth of the situation is like you can't fully get rid of your phone. We need them. They're incredibly important and they're incredibly beneficial in certain use cases, connecting with family who are on the other side of the Atlantic, being a very obvious one
and even
to me.
social media. Like,
And even
I
social
learn
media
a lot
can
from
be good.
TikTok every now and
So
then.
I think kind of it's just worth remembering that the ultimate answer is not to get rid of it. It's kind of to regain sovereignty over it. And I think one of the ways you can do that is by really recognizing what I think the big difference between phones and reality is. And that is that phones have infinities, whereas reality does not. You can scroll infinitely. And every time you scroll, you're doing a little slot machine, right? Maybe this refresh of my feed will give me the humor, the rage, whatever it is that I'm looking
The
for.
answer.
The little answer. And every time you're playing a little gambling game, it's literally addiction.
Right.
It's addiction. It's designed to be addictive.
Yeah, it's called variable response, and it's the most
yes.
addictive kind of response that your brain can have exposure to. That's why gambling works.
Yeah, it's designed to be a little casino. And so I think a great way to combat that is the really simple stuff. Any way you can try and remove that infinity, right? So you either put an app limit, which I know doesn't always
work for
work
me.
because you
I
can
just
just
click past
press
it.
no. But like maybe take the apps off the home screen and put them in a folder called Are You Sure? Or if that's not strong enough, Are You Disappointing Yourself?
I think the other thing
But-
is just like paying attention to natural consequences, right?
Yeah.
And like we were kind of talking about this last episode with discipline, right? Discipline gets easier and easier the more you get the feedback loop of, oh, I do this hard thing and then I feel better.
Yeah.
You start to feel better in advance of doing the hard thing because you know you'll feel better. It's the inverse with things that make you feel bad, right? Like sometimes I do just fall down the hole and I scroll and he goes, do you feel good right now? Do you like how you feel? And
Are
it's
you
like,
going to feel better in an hour?
the
as well?
answer is
Yeah.
no. I'm just
Yeah.
going to keep feeling worse and worse. And then that will eventually hopefully build a natural feedback loop of
Yeah.
you going, do I want to do this? Even I sometimes will click on an app and be like, I'm going to feel worse after this.
Yeah.
And then I do. And then I go, all right, that was a little bit of a backslide. But then sometimes I go, I'm going to feel worse if I do this. I don't want to do that. I feel good right now. I'm not going to do it. I'm not opening the apps.
And again, so much of fighting.
So sad, bro. It's so
It
sad.
is. But also, again, like, as you say, through logical consistency, if you're doing one, you have to do the other. If you're trying to beat an addiction, which basically I think for all of us in the world at this point, especially in our generation, it is, you have to celebrate your wins, right? When you see your screen time go down 15% one week, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Tell a friend, tell your partner, whatever. And then importantly, like a PR, you go and beat it again the next week.
You're already on the path. You're aware.
Knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe.
Good luck.
Good luck.
You got this.
Our second question today is from Jessica. Jessica writes, I'm in a weird season of life right now. No move, no promotion, no vacation. I'm just sort of here. How do I get to the next chapter?
Before we give you practical answers, I want to give you a story. There is a beautiful botanical garden in Los Angeles called the Huntington Gardens that
Love
we
it.
love going to, and the crown jewel of the Huntington Gardens is the rose bushes. It's this beautiful row of all different colors of rose bushes, incredibly beautiful and fragrant, and they bloom during this period of the year, and we love to go and visit them. But we also go to the Huntington in the off season sometimes when it's a little chillier. And not too long ago, we went and visited, and these glorious rose bushes were just a row of sticks. Completely unremarkable. You would never look at these sticks and think that they were anything magnificent. But they're the same plants. And we all just had this very poetic moment of going, those are still the rose bushes, even when they're not blooming. And in fact, right now, they're doing the percolating, they're preparing to bloom again. So the first thing is just don't beat yourself up when you're in a stick season. But the second thing that I will say is that movement begets movement, and inertia is a law for a reason. And so if you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like you want to start building towards something different, just making little slight different choices here and there in how you spend your time can send you on that path. And the other thing that I would just say is try, if you can, to enjoy it. Because when things are crazy and change is happening and the world is moving fast around you, you will miss the time when things felt a little stagnant and quiet. We always kind of miss what we don't have, and the grass is greener. So just try to enjoy this sort of quieter time right now, because eventually you will get back to the other side of things. And if you are anxious to get to the next chapter, do something new, break out of your habits, try a new hobby, change your sleep schedule. Honestly, that's something that works for me. Like, I like to go through phases where I'm going to bed late and sleeping in late, and that way I can experience nightlife. And then I go through periods where I'm going to sleep early and waking up early so I can go on sunrise hikes, and I feel like two different people. Those are my tips. Max?
I've actually confronted this issue a lot recently in writing, or a similar issue at least, which is that it's quite hard to develop character in big moments. And we love big moments. We love when our protagonist slays the dragon or whatever, and, you know, you get the girl. But I think it's much easier, actually, to really develop character and to build things in the quiet, when they're alone in a room. And so I think that is a nice analogy for real life, that while we can sometimes be a little plot obsessed as humans in society, we want the big montage, the new job, the new wedding, very, very exciting. Ultimately, a myopic focus on that might be to the detriment of our actual growth.
Not to mention, let's tell them about XP.
Yes, XP, of course.
We love video games, and, you know, in a video game, the battles and the side quests and, you know, the tasks you do, they build you XP, but then it's not until you get to the end of a chapter that you actually get to spend those experience points on increasing your skill level, increasing your gear, whatever. And I kind of feel like that is true to life. We go through these seasons sometimes where we're working really hard and we know that we're building XP, but we don't actually feel it building us up yet. Yeah. It's not until the quiet period after that we then get to like integrate that XP into our personhood. So you might just be in a period where you get to spend the XP that you built from the last hard thing that you did. And those are kind of my favorite periods.
May I pitch an aphorism?
Please.
There is no progressing without processing.
Sick.
Progressing without processing maybe is better because you're not processing. But
yeah, no, that's better.
Maybe there's a little something in that. I don't know.
Do you know what an aphorism is? When I was like 12, my parents and I moved to LA, and there's a dry cleaner here that always has a saying, a phrase, kind of slightly trite, but like sweet and usually very affirmative, you know, you regret the things you didn't do more than the things you did kind of a thing. And like we drove by it and my dad was like, do you know what an aphorism is? And I said, no. And he taught me. And then he seemed to forget that he did that in the next like 6 times we drove by it. Or maybe it was only like 2 or 3. He was like, do you know what an aphorism is? And I was like, Dad, yes, you taught me what an aphorism is. So then the next time we drove past it, I started being like, do you know what an aphorism is? And now it's a bit that anytime any of us go to that dry cleaner or any dry cleaner or say the word aphorism, my dad or Max or I, one of us will say, do you know what an aphorism is? And now you're in on our bits. One of the funny things about like being in a relationship and then sharing your relationship with the world is that like you guys are all learning our familect.
Yes. You're all going to be part of this soon.
I look forward to the day when we run into someone on the street or we like hear someone make a familectical joke of ours and we go, you're
on the inside
in the inner
now.
Circle. It's like being a nerd fighter and
right.
hearing like
Back
a
in the
Pizza
day.
Miss reference or like, you know, remember.
It's I like your shoelaces.
Yeah. Remember the early One Direction fans? You'd make a joke about a carrot
and
it was whatever the positive version of a dog whistle is. Ooh, actually, this reminds me, what?
Sorry. You said carrot, and then my brain is doing imagery to answer this question, and I thought you don't pull up the carrot to see if it's grown.
So true.
You know?
Incredible.
You got to leave it in there, man.
Yep, that's amazing. This all reminded me of the other word I was considering bringing in this week, so I'm going to do it. Argot?
Argot?
Argot is like jargon. meaning it is a kind of vocabulary, collection of slang terms used by an in-group. But it also has a little bit of a connotation of like, it's kind of exclusionary on purpose. So like skaters have argot, that like is the way that only they will communicate to each other.
Fascinating.
And I read it in this book that I'm reading right now. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. She's like, I'm sure they had all sorts of argot that they would let me in on one day or something like that.
Cool.
But I like it because it's kind of jargon, it's kind of vernacular, but it kind of has its own flavor to it.
Great.
Yeah.
Third question. Our third question. Should we move on? I hope that helps.
We should probably move on.
Question 3 today is from Emmy.
Hi,
Emmy says, I'm trying to work on controlling my anxiety, but I keep thinking, surely some anxiety is self-protection.
That's a Max question.
Yeah, I think it's a super sharp question, actually. I think that yes, ultimately a little bit of anxiety can be useful. However, anxiety is an instrument, and if you have a poorly tuned instrument, you're going to get poorly tuned results. Imagine anxiety is like a smoke alarm, right? If your smoke alarm goes off when there's a fire, brilliant, thumbs up, very, very good. If your smoke alarm goes off every time you make toast, that's ultimately not very helpful, and it's just annoying. So your job is to try and tune and calibrate your instrument so that it is proportional to the activity that you are feeling anxious about. I think one way that you can do that is to really try and be sober about splitting your anxieties into 2 groups that we will call functional anxiety and familiar anxiety. Functional anxiety is anxiety that is related to the completion of a specific task. For example, pay my bills. Make sure I study for my test. This is good anxiety. It helps you be prepared. And importantly, when you do the thing, pay the bill, take the test, the anxiety goes away. That's great and you should keep it. The other kind of anxiety is familiar anxiety. And that is the hum that people talk about, the kind of the what ifing, the thing that can lead to catastrophizing. I don't think I could put my finger on a single example ever where that does more good than harm. I mean, there may be edge cases like, I'm very scared of going out in public, and consequently I avoided going out in public the day where there was a terror attack or whatever.
Yeah, like, I was gonna say, where do you put my, like, every time I go to a club or a public place, I'm worried about a shooting, and the first thing I do is make an exit plan. Like, is that?
I think it depends if you do it once on normal time.
Yeah, it's like slightly beyond the limit of what normal day-to-day anxiety should be, but also like it is good self-protection unless it gets to a point where you're not living your life anymore.
No, it's really interesting, and it touches on 2 ideas in philosophy that I just want to quickly bring up because they may be interesting. They are said much more eloquently and explored much more profoundly by people much smarter than me.
I don't think that exists, my love.
There's one from the Roman Stoics, like Seneca and Epictetus, and there's one from Buddhism that I want to talk about.
Take a shot. Max talking about Rome again.
Talking about Rome again. The Stoic philosophy is called the premeditation of evils. And the basic idea is that to think about a disaster once is to prepare. To think about it more than that is to suffer. You know, I think that's just an interesting thing to take with you.
That's great.
Noticing where the door is, preparation. Keeping an eye all of the time on where the door is, maybe ultimately not that helpful. That's up to you to decide. The Buddhist one is called future clinging, which I think is really interesting. They have this idea that anxiety is trying to reach and grip for a future moment, and the more tightly you try to grip to it, the more you lose your grip on the present. And what a shame that would be.
Wow.
Right? These are just 2 interesting, contrasting philosophical ideas that you should take with you in companionship with familiar anxiety and functional anxiety and training your smoke alarm, and hopefully some of that resonates and allows you to move forward.
Beautifully done.
Anything you want to add?
Maybe just an acknowledgement that, like, now specifically is a tricky time to be someone with anxiety, because traditionally the best cure for anxiety is to do something about what you're anxious about, right? But in this current day, a lot of the things that we are, quote unquote, anxious about, we don't have an immediate step to fix, right? They are really big things threatening our political climate, our day-to-day lives in a very different and intense way. So that's where we have to sort of let our anxiety either fuel us to try to make a change, which can sometimes be really difficult, but there are things that we can do. Or we have to go, okay, I know things are bad. I need to not keep feeling this way. I think we've nailed down to the crux of this, which is that nervousness is self-protection. I think anxiety, we should consider nervousness beyond cause.
Yeah,
and
there's an inherent irrationality in the term.
Yeah, if not try to pacify, I guess accept and let fizzle.
That reminds me actually of one more thing, which I think is worth being cognizant of, all of us, is that I think as humans, we sometimes misplace our anxieties and the things that we're fearful of. A lot of people are scared of flying, but not as many people are fearful of getting enough sleep the night before they drive to the airport, even though that is statistically much higher risk.
Right. Well, like you always say, the best antidote to anxiety is evidence.
Right. Yeah. Being sober about where your irrationality falls trying to split familiar and functional anxiety as separate, and trying to understand that there is a direct repercussion of being anxious, which is that it detaches you from the joy of the present.
Oh, and I will say one last thing to connect it to our last question about phones, which is that anxiety is a natural human mechanism to keep us alive in the wilderness, right? Anxiety is supposed to, like, spike up your adrenaline if you think there might be a bear, so that if the bear attacks you, you're strong enough to fight back. But in our modern day, we are constantly seeing things on our phone that are naturally and understandably spiking our anxiety beyond what our human meat sacks can handle.
Yeah.
Like, we're operating with Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology.
Yeah,
like,
right.
there's bound
Yeah.
to be some dissonance
Yeah.
there. And so this is just one of my arguments for just, like, spending less time on your phone, putting less of an onslaught of post-apocalyptic doom scroll future technologically messaged into this meat sack brain that was built to eat berries in a cave.
Yeah, the meat sack can't beat the infinity.
The meat sack can't beat infinity. Is that
Yes,
our
possibly.
episode mini title
Yeah,
today?
very good.
So yeah, get off your phone is maybe one of the things I could say to help with emotional regulation. So yeah, I think we've answered this question. I hope that helps.
I mean, I hope that helps.
I hope that in case it helps.
I think that's our episode for today.
Did we do
I
it?
think we did it.
That was
Nicely
great.
done. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you, everyone. This was great. Please, as always, let us know your hors d'oeuvre questions, best thing you ate, watched, fun fact, best word you learned, $1 million idea. Ask us any questions that you want us to answer, advice questions, life questions. You can also just propose a topic of discussion. It doesn't have to be like a personal help me question.
For sure.
We just want to be inspired by what you guys want to be having conversations about.
Yeah.
We will read every comment. We will see you next time. And we hope you have a lovely day. Like and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, you're part of the family now. Welcome. You're never leaving. Just kidding. We're not a cult. Or are we? Bye.
Bye-bye. Very nice.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Nice.
Squelchy. Bye.
Bye-bye.